Doc here for DetroitBeardCollective.com, Detroit's premier grooming company. Visit DetroitBeardCollective.com if your beard is feeling dry, scaly, if you need to maintain your beard. This day and age, there's products out there that helps you take care of your beard. Beard butters will make your beard feel softer, better smelling than ever before. The Doc actually rocked a beard earlier this spring and summer, and I actually used the beard butter. And the first time I ever used a product to take care of my face, you know, I heard that Adam was into styling, and I'm like, you know what? Let me take care of myself and actually try this stuff out. So I went to DetroitBeardCollective.com and bought the beard butter. My face actually does feel smoother. I definitely checked out the products at the Detroit Beard Collective. They got great t-shirts, oils, the ultra-popular Beard Crate, which is a wide assortment of a bunch of different Detroit Beard Collective products. So definitely support those who support us, DetroitBeardCollective.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Welcome and thank you for downloading another great podcast episode of the Detroit Sports Podcast. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, a man who, like myself, watched as much football as he possibly could these last 5 days, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz? What's happening?
Dude, I need a weekend away from that weekend. So much football. It was just like nonstop pigskin action. And you know what? This weekend is going to get that much better because now we're introducing the NFL into everything. We've got college just kind of up and rolling. You've seen what Ohio State brings to the table, and boy, that whole team looks like men amongst boys.
I thoroughly enjoyed the last 5 days. I watched all of the Michigan game, all of the State game, all the great college football action because I watched the UFC on Saturday night. So I saw the epic highlights of BYU coming back on the Hail Mary versus Nebraska. Oh my goodness, what a great game. Then I kind of took a little bit of a break on Sunday, but then Ohio State was just an amazing game to watch versus Virginia Tech. The highlight of the night, college football on Monday Night Football was epic and highlighted by that great spin move, great touchdown run. Woo. Ohio State looked great. I am actually kind of footballed out for a minute, so taking a couple days off and then ramps right back up this weekend. Thursday, NFL starts, so it's a great time of year. We got a great podcast. We're going to break down college football, Michigan, break down the game one, our reactions, break down Michigan State versus Oregon. Greatness. I think I'm going to have to head down there for game day. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get there front row. You're going to see my face right there in front. I know they kind of set the stage back a little bit.
So your TVs will be breaking.
The TVs will be breaking. The Doc is going to try to get there front and early with a big Detroit Sports Podcast.
There's a reason why he is not on the Periscope.
That's right. We Periscope a little bit before the show starts, and everyone's like, who's the guy talking? I'm like, no. Mm-hmm. We accentuate the strengths. But I'm going to go. I'm going to go to game day, get there in front, tailgate as much as I can, come back here to the studio and do some more podcasts, man. I love it. I love doing these podcasts, and I love now that we're talking a little bit less about the Tigers and focusing heavily on the sport that we both
If we can just bury the
Ooh.
Tigers, it'll be great. Just dig them a 6-foot hole and just dump them in there, and then we'll just dig them back out come April next year. So, yeah, if we could just do that, it'd be awesome. Let's just move right on into this right now, all right? We've got Michigan. We've got Michigan State. I think we need to kick this off kind of in order here and how everything unfolded starting last Thursday with Michigan versus Utah. I mean, I want your take on what was, me as the Michigan fan here, if I can say, an underwhelming performance.
I thought that potentially Michigan would come in and lose the game. First and foremost, I thought that Utah had more talent and it was a road game and it would be super challenging for Michigan to go there and win the game. But once the game got started and you kind of saw how things unfolded, Michigan left plays on the field. Michigan didn't execute the game plan from Jim Harbaugh. They lost, Jake Rudock threw some interceptions. Now, some weren't his fault, but the key plays that he missed, those wide open receivers, he needs to make those throws. And if he makes those throws, then it's a different ballgame. And then you started to see some of the wrinkles, some of the parts that I saw that were concerning was a little bit the conservative nature of the offense and the fact that Jim Harbaugh whispered it. You had a key fourth down play. He decided to kick a field goal, and it was missed. And we said it ourselves. Turnovers and special teams would decide that game. And if it went down to kicks, Utah had the advantage. And right away, another missed field goal. Jim Harbaugh was caught whispering, I should have went for that. Need to be a little bit more aggressive at that point. But you saw that Michigan has weapons on offense in Jake Butt and Darbo, both who put up good numbers. But after that, dead air silence.
Just crickets after that.
The run game was ineffective. And I thought that after now the game is done and after thinking about it, Michigan fans should be disappointed. They should have won that game. There were plays that were left on the field. Michigan had a chance to go in there and win that game, and the players didn't execute. Why? I'm not sure.
Jake Rudock missed 2 monster touchdowns right there. There's 14 points right there that he overthrew. The game itself was just underwhelming and a giant letdown. Michigan fans should be upset about that. Michigan, I don't want to say they should have beat Utah, because I think Utah played a very sloppy game themselves. But from a Michigan's fan perspective, this was totally underwhelming. This left you wanting more and left you with a sour taste in your mouth. And Jake Rudock did throw 3 interceptions. And what was said about him coming in is, hey, he's really good at managing the game. The guy doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He's not going to wow you with talent, but what he's not going to do is he's not going to shoot you in the foot. Turns around and shoots you in the foot. And yeah, I think 2 of those 3 interceptions that he threw, those weren't on him. But still, the whole thing on you is you're supposed to come in, you're supposed to help this team out. And I think this team has a defense that is good enough to win, and that it has a defense that will give you a shot to win 80% of your games. You just can't shoot yourself in the foot on offense. And that's exactly what they did. They turned the ball over on offense. Boy, does that offensive line in run blocking look awful and abysmal. And we have no running backs in Michigan. None, apparently, because they didn't show up on Thursday. And I don't know if they're going to show up this Saturday. If they look horrible. That running game is atrocious.
Okay,
and the offensive line, it does a great job pass blocking. I'm gonna be honest with you. They do a better than average job pass blocking. But run blocking, they need to go and they need to learn a few other techniques. They need to study up. They need to go, I don't know, find a big guy who can maybe take 3 steps forward and open up a hole for somebody, because those running backs have zero vision. So you've got to part the Red Sea, and hopefully those guys fall through it.
To take away some positives, Michigan stayed in the game till late in the fourth quarter. After that key pick 6 that Rudock gave up, that kind of miscommunication play, he gave up a pick 6, but Michigan came back, and they were still in the game. So you saw a little bit more fight. You saw that the Michigan team had a strong game plan, and they tried to execute it the best that they could. Potentially, you knew that Utah had more talent. So in that situation, you needed to kind of create some turnovers yourself. You needed to have that one special play yourself to kind of get that momentum. And you really kind of never saw that. And that was a little bit concerning in that Michigan wasn't able to kind of get that extra to win the game. But that's just based on the fact that right now, in all honesty, Michigan doesn't have the talent to execute Harbaugh's plan. I thought the game plan was a little bit too conservative on offense, but you saw the defense, again, held Utah's running game to basically nothing. You were able to kind of be in the game. So I just think that with progression and with continued coaching, you're going to see improvement with this team. Your biggest questions are on offense with the quarterback and the run game right now.
The one thing I can say that I took out of that game, the one positive I took, was that defense looked really unsettled that first drive down the field. They looked jumpy. They looked like they weren't sure of themselves. But that very next drive, and basically from that point on in the game, they settled down. They looked like a much more calm unit. They looked like they knew what they had to do, and they did a good enough job of addressing that. You know, I think that there's a lot to be said about Jabril Peppers. I think he, at times, looked like a game changer, and then at other times, you just were kind of scratching your head like, whoa, what's he doing? Why is he not covering that guy? Why is he that far up in the play, and now the play is behind him? So I think there's a lot to be said there, and I think there's a lot there talent-wise. It just has to be corralled, and it has to be put towards good use. But if these two teams were to meet, say, late December, early January, I think Michigan could beat them. I think it would be a very close game, but I think Michigan, as the season progresses, they will get better, and they will address a lot of these issues that they're having right now, and they will become a better team and a better unit for it.
So your first initial thoughts on Game 1, Harbaugh. You thought he kind of lived up to what he needed to do. He was, effective in terms of the game plan. He kept the team in it, and people have said that it looked a lot better than what Hoke put out there.
This is what I'll say, and maybe I'm being much more critical than the average Michigan fan. but I don't think that there was enough of Jim Harbaugh on this team. I don't think he implemented his will enough. The one thing I will say is these guys looked a lot tougher, both mentally and physically. They looked like they were ready to punch you in the mouth. They took a couple punches to the face and they got right back up and kept asking for more. Now with a whole coach team, I don't think that would have happened. I think this team would have came out and looked a little bit scared. I think they would have got hit in the mouth and they would have crumbled. This team instead came out, they looked jumpy. They got punched in the mouth a few times and they got back up and they said, give me more. So it's the one good thing I can say that Jim Harbaugh has done, but I don't think there's enough of him and what he wants to do in that game. And I'm hoping this coming week against Oregon State, I'm hoping that there's more of what Jim Harbaugh wants to do, and I hope he implements himself more into this offense and into this defense.
For you Michigan fans who are worried, no worries for the home opener. It's going to be a great time at the Big House. It's going to be like a celebration, a coronation, as you would say. It's a place for Jim Harbaugh to preach on his message. It's going to be like a big-time homecoming for Michigan's own Jim Harbaugh. And you got nothing really to worry about. Michigan's 4-0 versus, is it Oregon State?
Yes.
Michigan takes on Oregon State this Saturday. They got a first-year coach. They got a freshman quarterback. Oregon State's got a freshman quarterback in Seth Collins. How's he going to handle over 100,000 people coming at him? Please. Michigan's going to dominate. There shouldn't be too much that you should be worried about in this game. I mean, Seth Collins is a running quarterback. He made some plays in the first game. You got to worry about their running back.
But here's the problem. Running quarterbacks have traditionally given Michigan problems. I know this defense is what Michigan is leaning on, but I don't know if this defense is well enough equipped to handle this guy. He's elusive. He's quick. I mean, the guy sat there and almost jumped a 6-foot linebacker on Saturday when he was playing. So, I mean, he does have talent. You're right, though. He is a freshman. He's young. This will be a much bigger scene than what he's probably used to. But again, if you look at the history of Michigan, running quarterbacks that are elusive have caused them fits for years now. So I don't know if it's such a chalk it up and say it's a checkmark win for the Wolverines here. I'm not sure about that. I've got a lot of questions going to this. I think the defense is very good, and I like what the defense has showed me during the Utah game. And I think that they're going to get better at, like I said, as the season progresses. But coming into this game, I'm nervous.
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. No,
the experts have this at a 15.5 point.
No, I would take the points. I would take OSU and the points. But no, my thinking is this. You're going to have all the emotion, all the hype. You're going to see improvement now this week. You know, Jim Harbaugh came out and said, losing is tough. We're going to rebound from this. I do think that they have now some film to teach these guys what to do, and OSU doesn't have enough talent to match Michigan. I mean, they have, you know, a decent quarterback, a decent running back, but consistency on offense and defense, Michigan should at the end win the game around the area of like 27-20. So don't worry, it's going to be a good game, good solid game. Michigan doesn't have enough talent to, I think, blow out any teams. Michigan will have enough talent and enough momentum riding in to the Big House with 100,000 people. No worries. The U of M fight song will be played loudly, and Jim Harbaugh will get his first victory with the University of Michigan this Saturday.
Go Blue!
I think you're right. I think Michigan wins this game, but I think it's purely based on the fact that Jake Butt is probably better than anybody else on that field come Saturday. I'm going to be nervous about Seth Collins. I don't think that Michigan blows anybody out this season. This entire season, they don't blow anybody out. I don't care who it is. It could be Rutgers and the 6 guys that they suspended. It doesn't matter. It could be your high school football team. Is your high school even around anymore?
Yeah, they still play.
It is? It's still there?
They never were a team that did anything.
Exactly. I don't think they're blowing anybody out this year. But I think this game will be competitive. I think Michigan wins. I think Michigan wins by maybe 10. Jake Butt is the key for this offense, and you seen it on Thursday night. Whenever Rudock got in trouble, who'd he go to? Went to Jake Butt. Now more than ever, your tight end is your security blanket for your quarterback. As long as Jake Butt is there, and as long as Jake Butt is the best player on the field, I think that offense has a chance to put some points up as long as Rudock doesn't turn the ball over. This team will be competitive. And going into this game against Oregon State, I think they win, like I said, by 10. Watch out for Collins, though. I think he's going to probably throw for a touchdown, maybe run for 1 or 2.
It's time to talk about the varsity team, the team that everyone in town,
varsity.
The team, the main eventers, Michigan State, they're taking on in a rematch of the game that kind of swayed the season for the Spartans last year. They're going to they're going to take on a team that is just so potent on offense, such speed, such talent. It's kind of a perfect matchup. Michigan State's defense versus Oregon's offense. And it's going to be a primetime game. The second game of the season, State's home opener. ESPN's rolling into town. Everyone's excited. And now we get a chance to kind of see how Michigan State's going to, kind of rebound from a lackluster performance versus Western. The general consensus was, of course, Michigan State didn't put forth the best effort in terms of beating a MAC school. And I say that, quote unquote, beating a MAC school. Everyone thought they'd go in there and kind of dominate. But in the end, you saw a little bit of weaknesses, which I think is good. If you show your cards right away that first game, then really where do you have to learn and grow from? Michigan State's defense and secondary were torched. They gave up way too many yards passing. It was bad. They gave up, I think, 365 yards versus Western. It's a road game. It's the first game. It's the first game under the new defensive system since Pat Narduzzi left. So you didn't see everything that we all expected in terms of special teams and defense. Okay, fine. You still won the game. All is good. Connor Cook played efficiently. The run game looks good. The defensive line was decent. And now you got to kind of stop Oregon, and you got to bring it 60 minutes.
All right,
Oregon's not going to stop.
Here's the main question for you, because everybody leading into this week, after Friday night's game, everybody's talking about how they now have question marks on whether or not this team's a national champion or whether this team will even contend for a playoff spot. So in your mind, is MSU still a contender to be in the playoff?
Yeah, they're still a contender. Right now we sit 1-0. We know who the Kings who's the king of the conference. It's Ohio State. It's going to take a flawless game, a miraculous game, to even do some damage versus Ohio State. But by the time that game rolls around, you never know. A key hit there, a key injury to either squad, and we have a chance to maybe get in it. You never know. Maybe Elliott gets hurt. Maybe something happens to one of the quarterbacks, or in game something happens. You never know. But right now, we have to just focus on Oregon, because that task in and of itself, Oregon dropped 485 yards rushing. They got speed. They got guys. They got a receiver. They got receivers that can get open and make big plays and run that go route flawlessly. And Michigan State's got to worry about that. Michigan State has lots to worry about.
They've got a secondary that gave up 438 yards passing. So Connor Cook should be able to pick this whole thing apart. This is a game where it's going to be weird to hear me say this, especially for you Michigan State fans. You've got to pass to set up the run here. Normally, this is a run-first team. You've got to come out and you've got to sling that ball all over the place to open up some running lanes, so that way you guys can get on the board. That's the only way Michigan State wins this game, is they got to come out, throw the ball around, run it, and that defense has to jam it so hard down Vernon Adams' throat that he is crying to get taken off the field.
Look at these numbers. Royce Freeman, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. Opening game. Come on now. Those are nice numbers. Michigan State, obviously, it's going to be a home game. They're going to be fueled by some momentum.
That was like an FBS school, though, wasn't it?
But now they're going to come
or
up
FCS. Was it FCS? What? He's like, it's like subdivision 2. It doesn't.
Okay, I know. It doesn't
they're
move
like
the needle.
sisters of the poor here.
Does Michigan State take the next step? This is a key game for them, because if you look at it, if Michigan State can somehow find a way to execute on both offense and defense, and they can win the game, then the road looks good to have a really nice football season. Last year, and you spoke of it, Connor Cook this year should be able to dominate. But last year, Michigan State held their own for 3 quarters. And what happened was Oregon got some momentum with Marcus Mariota, and then when it was time for Connor Cook to answer, he threw 2 interceptions that were really bad at that time. He's going to need to play in games like this a near flawless game. You can't have turnovers. You're going to have to execute the plays as called, and you're going to have some plays, you're going to have to get some turnovers. Oregon's not going to stop coming, and I do believe they're going to show up, and it's going to be a super tight game. So I'm predicting this game is going to go to overtime. It's going to be an overtime game, and I'm thinking it's going to be 34-28 Michigan State. They're going to get that touchdown, and Oregon's going to fail to deliver in overtime. Might take 2 or 3 overtimes. I think it's going to be a great game. This is one game where Michigan State comes through. I'm going to puff my chest out, and I'm giving State the win. I think that when you have an opponent that can bring out your best, you bring your best. So Michigan State's going to be in front of their rabid group of student fans and fans all over the area to support the team. Connor Cook's going to play well. The run game's going to be efficient. The defense is going to play well. In the end, it's going to be a super tight game. This game is a game. Sit back and bring your beer, and you're going to see a great quality game won by Michigan State in overtime.
I don't think it's that close. But here's the deal. So the Spartans are going to sit there, and they're going to key on the quarterback, and they're going to key on the running back position. Both Vernon Adams and Royce Freeman, they're undersized guys who can make a lot happen, especially when they get out in space. What'll be key for Michigan State is to corral these guys and kind of put them in the middle of the field. All right. So now your D linemen and your D ends are going to sit there and you're going to have to crash down from the sides, forcing Adams to throw the ball, which then he'll force turnovers. Once that offense is on the field, you're lighting up that secondary all game long. Connor Cook will be going deep. Your receivers are going to have a hell of a game. It's going to look like, who are these guys? We've never even seen these guys. Where'd they come from, right? So look for all this to happen. And while that happens, once Michigan jumps out into that lead, they're going to run the ball. And then once they run the ball, they'll kill the clock and they'll just wear them down. And that's what it's just going to be a game of attrition. That's all that's going to happen. On top of that, here's a little tip for you. These two teams have met 5 times. 5 times. You know who's won the game all 5 times that they played?
Do tell.
The home team has won all 5 times.
Yes, sir.
When the home team wins, it's not even close. It's not even close. Michigan State wins this game going away. I think Michigan State wins this game by maybe 14 points.
Oh, yes. I love it. The good thing is right now, both squads are interesting to look at and explore because you have Michigan kind of being built now from the ground up, and you're going to see what does the team look like when these two squads, Michigan and Michigan State, play each other. Michigan State is a team that you wonder what's their potential, what's their ceiling. And I do think they have a super high ceiling. They have the potential to take that next level. But like I said, every team has flaws. And if you're going to give up multiple yards in the kickoff game, oh my God, dude, I was freaking out. It was like a 101-yard return, followed then by another bad return. I'm like, whoa, that's a little bit alarming. And then you had the defense gashed for quite a bit of yards in terms of the pass game. Now you're opening yourself up for the great teams like Ohio State, like in Oregon, to kind of pick you apart because now it's on film. You kind of know the weaknesses and where to go.
Oregon's defense is in a rebuild mode right now.
They are.
That offense, you have a quarterback who was a late transfer. He doesn't even understand the entire playbook yet. You had Marcus Mariota who came in starting the season before that and was a stud. Yes, this guy's talented. And yes, this guy has all the abilities in the world to be a great quarterback with Vernon Adams, but he's still digesting that playbook. He's probably only got half of it through. I don't see this being anything like last year's game.
On a side note, are you concerned a little bit more off the field issues kind of occurring for Michigan State? Another player kind of in the police blotter. Kind of like, man, I understand Mark D'Antonio is trying to build through, getting guys that are kind of high character and are really strong and things like that. But recently, there's been a little bit too much, I think, of distractions and news that is not really worthy of Michigan State. Should we be concerned at all?
I don't know if I'd be concerned all that much because this happens 1 or 2 players every year, every other year. So it's not a huge deal. I mean, you've got guys over there in Rutgers, you got 5 guys getting suspended. You know what I'm saying? And you look at Ohio State, I think Ohio State started this game off with 4 or 5 guys suspended already. So you're not seeing that with Michigan State. Dumb moves by smart players at bad times is what you've got going on right now in East Lansing. There's nothing that Mark D'Antonio can do about that.
Okay.
He can't correct that. That's on the players. The players have to be smarter.
I'm excited. Saturday is going to be a great day. It was kind of odd, too, that the opening day of college football was Saturday, where most of the games took place, and Michigan State had already played.
Yeah,
it was kind of interesting. But the landscape of college football was so fascinating. I mean, wow. You had a big debut. You had a guy named Rosen out of UCLA kind of just really put a bunch of highlight throws out there early. He got a lot of talk. Ohio State, you had BYU's epic win. It was such a great weekend for college football. I'm never going to say that college football will rival my love for the National Football League, but it was pretty fun. It was good to have football back.
It was nice. It was like you said, 4 or 5 days straight of just football, and more football, dude.
So what's your Saturday plan going to be? I'm going to probably get up 5 o'clock, head on down to East Lansing, get my prime spot. I'm going to be in the front row, baby. I'm going to get up there. I'm going to get on game day. Doc's going to be on game day. I'm going to get myself a fat head of myself. I'm going to be with a big fat sign, something creative, maybe just Detroit Sports Podcast, but I'm getting myself interviewed, and I'm going to wear, you know what I might do? I might preemptively put on a Spartan head for Lee Corso. I might do that for him. I might somehow finagle my way up to that set and be like, I think it would be great if the Doc from the Detroit Sports Podcast put on the helmet for him. Because Lee Corso, I don't want to be mean, but he's looking past his prime, and he might need to just kind of chill out.
He just had a stroke, bro.
I know.
He shouldn't even be on ESPN right now.
I was looking, I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't know that. I don't know. For me, I start watching the games after soccer on Saturday, so I watch soccer heavy in the morning, and then I get to the get to college football. And then I saw his delivery was a little bit less than what I was used to. He was such a vigorous guy, the guy that I used to see on game day. So I picked in, I'm like, whoa, dude maybe needs an assistant. So that'll be me. I'm going to get up there, put on
assistant.
You think he'll put on a Spartan head? Odds he puts on a Spartan head.
Yes.
That'd be fun.
Yes. I'm going to say 97%. I don't believe in this Oregon team right now. I really don't.
Spartan head.
I think that their secondary is weak. I think that their quarterback is brand new and he's trying to learn that playbook. I think Michigan State, I think D'Antonio will correct the issues with the secondary and those linebackers. Defensive line and that offensive line are the key to them winning this game. And I think once Connor Cook passes the ball around, you get out to an early lead, I think then you just start running the ball, eating the clock up, and it becomes a war of attrition.
Let's take a quick break. Love the college football talk, strong opinions. And if you doubt our opinions, check back to episode 108. The Doc's predictions around 53 minutes in. I was within 1 point of predicting the Michigan-Utah game. Yeah, baby. Doc in the house.
Yeah, but you said that MSU was going to just sit there and roll to like a 51-14 win.
Hey, you said puff your chest. That's your fault.
Yeah, I built you up, huh?
Stay with us after the break. We're going to have a great interview with Adam Biggers. He's definitely well connected with the Michigan program. He's a great writer at Adam Biggers81. He will join us next on the podcast to kind of take a look at the Michigan program and their first game versus Utah. Stay with us after the break. Adam Biggers. Doc and Jock, episode 109.
Doc and Jock here for Fanatic U. If you're looking for some sweet sports swag and you love your Detroit teams, and I mean you really love your Detroit teams, you got to check out fanaticu.com. Check out fanaticu.com. Use promo code DSP, save 15% even off the clearance items, and get the coolest gear out there and rock your Red Wings shirt, rock your Lions shirt, rock your Old English D to the Tiger games, rock your Piston apparel, wear it till the wheels fall off. Michigan State, you know what? They got it too. Check out Fanatic U. They have 6 locations all over Metro Detroit. Check them out, fanaticu.com. On the phone with the Detroit Sports Podcast, Doc and Jock Show, we've got Adam Biggers, the assistant managing editor at today'su.com and Michigan beat writer. Adam, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Not a whole lot. Waiting for this game Saturday.
Hey, we appreciate you coming on and taking some time out of your busy day. Before we started talking here, I understand that you have an interesting story that took place at an airport. So what's going on?
Yeah. Well, I think anybody who knows me knows that I do not like to fly at all. So I'm at Detroit Metro getting ready to board my flight for stop in Phoenix and then fly to Salt Lake City for Michigan's opener. And I don't understand why this happened. And maybe looking back in hindsight, I have a couple clues. But so, all checked in, getting ready to board, and you're walking, to board the plane through the little tunnel or whatever you call it. I'm not a well-traveled guy. Whatever that little tunnel thing is that you walk through to get onto your plane, and there's a guy standing in there, and he goes, "Hey, can I talk to you real quick, man?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And at the moment, I didn't realize what was going on, and then he pulled me off to the side, and I looked down, and he's got a lanyard on and a D.E.A. badge. the guy's from the Drug Enforcement Agency.
Were you trying to smuggle something? What's going on here?
No, not at all. And And here's the kicker. I probably looked really nervous, and I went next door to Ruby Tuesdays and drank a Fat Tire to level myself out. And mind you, this is at like 11 in the morning, so I don't advise anyone to, start drinking that early in the day at all. But it was one beer, and, so I'm sure my breath was just reeking like alcohol. And he's just firing questions at me. Where are you going? How much money do you have? Where do you live? Where are you from? Wording them all differently and trying to get me to slip up. And it's just, maybe I looked nervous. I don't know. It's like, did anyone ask you to carry anything? Did you ask anyone to hold anything for you? Are you traveling with any narcotics? And then he asks me again, how much cash? How much money are you traveling with? And I just thought it was really weird. I've talked to a couple of my friends, and maybe in hindsight I looked nervous, so it's easy to point me out. But I just thought it was kind of odd to get kind of get escorted to the side by DEA agent, and it was just kind of an odd experience, to say the least. Kind of funny, but definitely odd.
Next
so
time you have this experience, you need to tell them, look, I'm carrying no drugs besides the condom that I swallowed that is loaded with cocaine.
I'm seriously just looking at this guy dumbfounded, like, why are you asking me? You know, I'm not I guess to profile somebody, I don't think I fit the description of a drug smuggler. So it was just kind of weird. And like I said, all the questions, he was trying to get me to trip up, and it was one of those things that kind of just surprised the hell out of me, to be honest with you.
Well, that sounds like it was pretty scary, a little bit crazy there. But talking about Michigan and Utah, you went to the game. What did you take out of the Michigan-Utah game?
There are a lot of things that go into this, and I think if you look at it, just a team, look at it like this, very plainly. This is a team that's running a more complicated offense than it was a year ago. Jake Butt has talked about yesterday. He mentioned how Jake Rudak's, really taking to the NFL scheme. I mean, you have Jets Fish in there, you have Jim Harbaugh. There's all kinds of stuff combined from Stanford and San Francisco 49ers playbooks and Jacksonville Jaguars. There's a lot to digest there. I look at it, and starting with Jake Rudak, we saw a Michigan quarterback in a hostile environment complete 27 passes. I don't know the last time I saw a Michigan quarterback complete 27 passes. Yes, the 3 interceptions were bad. They look really bad on paper. And Monday, Jim Harbaugh said that, to criticize Rudak for that would be, it's a low-hanging fruit. It's an easy thing. Anybody can blast the guy for throwing 3 picks. But here's the thing. 2 of those were definitely on Grant Perry, and, that's fine. He's also a true freshman. That's something that they can iron out. The third one, the pick 6, he was trying to make a play. It was 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 5. He's a competitor. He says, yes, I made a mistake. That was a stupid decision. I want to move on from it. He's not dwelling on it. And everybody likes to bring up the fact that he threw 5 picks last year, and that's, a fantastic stat that I always cite, and it was the fewest among Big Ten starters. And he throws 3 in the opener in Michigan, but he's got a track record that goes against that. I think this was just a total out-of-the-blue event, an anomaly, whatever you want to call it. I think that Jake Rudak managed the game well. I think that he showed a lot of guts, and, Harbaugh and players have agreed and said the same thing. He got knocked on the sideline. I forgot by who, and then he turns around and throws a touchdown to Jake Butt. He's in triple coverage and goes up and gets a 50-50 ball like it was his to begin with. So the positive from that, the pass protection, Jake Rudak didn't get sacked. How many times have we seen Michigan quarterbacks on their back? Now, Harbaugh did not like the amount of pressure that Rudak got, but I think a lot of that points to his experience. Yes, the offensive line has improved a little bit, and I think it's fair to say that given the opponent. Utah has a fantastic defensive line, pretty good defense. The Utes, to me, if I want to make a snap judgment, look like a 9-win team. They're Rudak, minus the sacks, but his experience, I think, maybe a guy who didn't have 25 starts going in that game maybe would have gotten sacked a couple times because, again, the offensive line was not perfect. But I think there are a lot of positives to take away from this. I mean, if J.U. Chetan catches that first deep pass, if Amar Darby catches that one late in the game, we're talking about a different game, and and obviously a potentially different outcome as well. So I don't think Michigan naysayers would like to blast the Wolverines and think that they flow up down the road, but I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah, Adam, now you touched a little bit on the naysayers. I just want to get your assessment on, with the people that you've talked about and the fan reaction to the first game. I know a lot of people have tempered their expectations, thinking potentially 6 to 8 wins for Michigan in Harbaugh's first season. But just based on the people that you've talked to, do you think the fans have realistic expectations? Or do you think that potentially some fans who have been waiting so long now for Michigan to come back are a little bit upset that maybe Harbaugh didn't win his first game?
Well, I think this goes to what type of fan are we talking about, because there's different levels of fan. Now, if you're the type of fan and you live and die with Michigan football and it impacts your emotions, and maybe too much. The people who maybe are a little bit too far in the deep end. You want to see Harbaugh win his first game, and you're upset that didn't happen, and maybe you got your hopes up for a little bit. I never looked at Michigan as anything more than a 7-5 team this year, 8-4 on the high end, and I think that's still very much realistic. This was one game. They competed very well, I thought, given the circumstances out at Utah. I think a 6-6 would be low, but let's remember last year 5-7. So anything better than 5-7 is an improvement. But I really think that 7-5 is realistic for Michigan, and then you have to flip it for there's people who really want to see Jim Harbaugh fail at Michigan from all corners. It doesn't matter if it's a Michigan State fan or an Ohio State fan or just anybody in general. There are a lot of people who are rooting against Jim Harbaugh. I don't think this loss discredits what he's done at Michigan. The improvement is going to, before we see really tangible improvement on the field, he's got to improve from within. And by all accounts, according to what he said, his coaches have said, the players have said, it's really just an attitude change. I think he's got it there. I stand firm. Jim Harbaugh is the guy for Michigan. And like I said, 7-5 seems pretty realistic to me. 8-4, I think you get a little bit lucky, and you got to beat a rival in that equation as well, like Ohio State or Michigan State.
When looking at the offense in particular, a lot of people have noticed that a struggle that continues from last season is the run game and run blocking. It seems like, Harbaugh made the choice in running back, but it just didn't seem to kind of get off the ground with less than 80 yards total rushing in the first game. What are your thoughts on the running game, and do you see it progressing as Harbaugh instills his system?
They better hope so. Like I said, the offensive line has improved. I really like the potential for Jake Rudock and Jake Butt, and he spread the ball around to 9 receivers. But the running game, you guys know as well as anybody, is an efficient offense, especially in the Big Ten. You got to hinge on a good running game, and that doesn't mean it's got to be fantastic. That doesn't mean that there has to be another Mike Hart in that backfield. It doesn't mean that they have to lobby the NCAA to let Ty Wheatley Sr. get back there and break off some runs. They just have to get something consistent. The offensive line improvement, I think, will help. My concern is just the level of talent back there. And, I'm a guy that's really eating my words on Derek Green. I think Derek Green hasn't really shown anything. He showed a little bit last year. It looked like he was about to turn the corner, and then he gets injured, with that broken clavicle at Rutgers. And now it's all kind of on De'Veon Smith. I've always liked that De'Veon runs hard. I've never been overly impressed with him, and I think part of that is because maybe he hasn't gotten the opportunity because the offensive line wasn't there. Well, now the offensive line, it's not just speculation. Everybody is saying, no, there's real improvement here, real improvement. So I think, it's De'Veon's turn right now. He's got to prove that he is the number one back. I think that the Wolverines have confidence in him. I think a problem last year, I remember talking with De'Veon that he said he second-guessed himself way too often. And I think that he's just got to trust his gut. He's a big guy. My problem was I don't think that on first contact, he just didn't look too strong. There's really no other way to say that. On first contact, but he was breaking tackles too. It's weird. He's a Jekyll and Hyde kind of guy right now, and until otherwise, you got to. I think taking a cautious approach with De'Veon Smith is probably the best thing. But keep in the back of your mind that this guy had dazzled in practice. I guess the jury's still out on De'Veon Smith, but the clock's against him certainly.
Taking a few minutes out of his busy day, we have Adam Biggers on the phone, the assistant managing editor at today'su.com and Michigan beat writer. Looking at the way that offense is constructed, and you said it yourself coming into this interview, that's a more complicated offense than Michigan's used to running, and that probably gets ran in 90% of the offenses in college. Do you think that offense is maybe a little bit limited, though? And is that due to the personnel, or what the talent base is over there at Michigan?
I think you could probably look at it from that standpoint because, like we all know, it's a new coaching staff. They're implementing their system, but they're still getting the players. I mean, Jake Rudock is the stopgap quarterback, right? I mean, Harbaugh came to Michigan. That was one of their priorities. You know, they didn't like what they had at quarterback, obviously, because they went out and got a senior transfer. So I think that this year maybe they're just going to try to lean on Rudock a little bit and see what they can do with personnel. I don't know if the 2015 season is going to be the unleashing of, the Harbaugh era offense, and we're going to see the true thing. I think that he kept it kind of bland at Utah. I think that he's still looking to see what he can get on game day. You can do everything in practice really well, but if you can't do it well on game day, then I guess it doesn't matter. I mean that's a good question. It's a complicated one to answer. It's not going to be limited when it comes to Jake Rudock and Jake Butt. I mean, it might be limited. It shouldn't be limited when it comes to connecting Rudock with J.U. Chatham. I mean that should be something that's a regular thing too. But again, they got to iron it out, because if J.U. can't get those touchdown balls, then it's not going to it's kind of a wasted throw, I guess. So to try to answer the question, I guess, I think, we will see a little bit limited. Yes, it is due to personnel, but that'll be this year.
Can you discuss how important James Ross and Jabril Peppers are to this defense and what Jim Harbaugh is trying to instill on the other side of the ball?
Well, if collecting ball hawk clothing has anything to do with it, Jordan Lewis mentioned yesterday that they get rewarded with ball hawk clothing, and accessories for making good plays. And he says that James Ross has the biggest collection of anyone, and that's, in practice, that's game. James, the experience obviously there. James has always been a guy that's talked about as tough, and you can never get enough of that. It doesn't matter what sport, what team, what coach. The need for tough is always there. Jabril Peppers, I'm trying to remember, some quotes about him. I mean, he's been called as advertised. Greg Jackson today, the secondary coach, was just, basically saying Jabril is, one of the best athletes he's got there, and he's been saying that for a long time. He complimented just the way that his instincts, and that he's a guy that goes hard all the time. But Jordan Lewis, too, let's not forget about Jordan. Jordan's got that it factor, and I'm quoting Jackson right there. He and Peppers both have that it factor. Ross is important. Like I said, the experience and the toughness. Jabril Peppers, the kid can do everything, right? I mean, we saw him that kick, the punt return rather, for I think it was 35 yards. He stuck a couple guys. He's played 3 games. Greg Jackson said, he's got a experience that's that parallels that of a true freshman. So let's remember that as well. They're going to be very important, and the sooner Jabril Peppers really becomes Jabril Peppers, then that's, I think, going to be kind of the knockout blow that Michigan secondary can throw.
All right, Adam, we'll let you go on this. How long till Michigan is a top 10 team?
That is tough. I mean, I guess the stock answer would be you got to give Harbaugh 2 years at least. He needed 2 years before he started getting things rolling at Stanford. I wouldn't be surprised if it takes at least 2 years. I'll say that. I mean, I don't know. I can't put a timetable on it. We don't know if these guys are going to click at some point in the middle of the season or later in the season, and then really gives people reason to believe that they're going to be a quality winning team next season. It'll take a couple of years. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, it appears that we lost Adam Biggers. You can check his stuff out at today'su.com. He's the Michigan beat writer there. I think he's right on the mark, though, anywhere from 2 to 3 years. We're going to go take a short break. We'll be right back with some Lions talk, all kinds of stuff. Detroit Lions, San Diego Superchargers going on over there this Sunday. So we'll be back right after these words.
I want to tell everyone out there about DetroitSportsNation.com. They're a great website, and they've been very supportive to all the shows on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. They host all the podcasts. They have great writers that cover all the Detroit teams, all the college teams. Check out their website and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. The collaboration has been excellent, and it's helped us to continue to grow and have great guests take phone calls. So our collaboration with the Detroit Sports Nation has really been successful, and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. Salivating,
Now,
bro. It's time.
Now, are you ready?
I'm ready.
How ready are you? I'm so ready.
Sunday, 4 o'clock. Cannot get here fast enough. Our Lions finally, after 4 meaningless preseason games, the roster's set. They're taking on the Chargers, baby. Game 1, we get to see what these Lions are made of. What is this team going to provide these fans who are starving for a winner? They're going to go out to San Diego. They're going to play the Chargers, 4 o'clock, game 1. It's opening day, baby. By the time this podcast drops, it'll be opening day for football. Tom Brady and New England are going to play Pittsburgh, I believe.
Yes.
Oof, can't wait to watch that. Can't wait to talk about the Lions. Now, they set the 53-man roster. Very interesting. I loved it. I love the fact they're going with only 2 quarterbacks.
Dude, there were some surprises.
Very much so. I was surprised. The Lions traditionally have had 3 quarterbacks on the roster. I've seen it now across the league a little bit in that these teams are like, you know what? That third roster spot is a guy that we basically don't play anyway. He's a guy that's inactive. Let's use that for a guy that can be productive.
I was happy that they cut Kellen Moore.
And he did it. Same thing happened over there in Baltimore. They've done the same thing. They've had 2 quarterback systems, and other teams now around the league are doing it. I absolutely love it. If Orlovsky's in the game, you know we're screwed anyway. Shit's about to hit the fan.
Yeah. Backup quarterback is something that they're going to have to look at next year because, like you said, if Matt Stafford goes down, this season's over. It's kaput. You could survive Calvin Johnson possibly getting hurt. You could survive Joique Bell getting hurt. You could survive that. You can't survive if Matt Stafford gets hurt. There is no way. Dan Orlovsky, if you guys remember Dan Orlovsky running out of the back of the end zone against Minnesota, that's what you'll be in for what, 15, 16 games then. So no, if Matt Stafford goes down, it's all over. One of the more surprising moves, though, with this 53-man roster that just kind of like made me scratch my head and say, whoa, TJ Jones got kept. I mean, last week's podcast, I couldn't give you any information on TJ Jones. I had nothing. I knew that they drafted him, and that was it. That was it. I had nothing because he wasn't very productive for his first 3 games in the preseason, but boy, did he have a hell of a 4th game. That guy lit the world on fire in his 4th preseason game, so much so that Jeremy Ross, a guy who I had penciled in on this roster, was booted. So now you got TJ Jones, who's going to basically be your special teams guy. He's going to be your punt returner and your kick returner, taking the place of Jeremy Ross. So that blew my mind. And the fact that Larry Webster got cut and then signed to the practice squad, Larry Webster was a guy I thought they could maybe build around. They could sit there and he could be a rotational player at times. Apparently not even that. So now he's on the practice squad. So, I mean, those were my 2 huge surprises.
Your boy
coming out of the 53.
Zach Zenner made the team.
I already knew, dude. I already
knew it.
I knew after game 1. I was like, this guy's got to make it. Got to make it. If he didn't make it, there was issues, dude.
No, I actually am pretty happy with how Martin Mayhew put together the roster. I mean, when you looked at it,
is it really Martin Mayhew who put this roster together?
Yes. Unfortunately, whoever's in the background.
Jim Caldwell.
No, it's a collaborative effort over there at the Lions, and I do believe that collectively they've done a good job putting together the most competitive roster that they can. Now, going into game 1, as always, you never really can be super comfortable and be like, yes, the Lions are going to win the game. When you look at it, San Diego is 4-0 at home versus the Lions, and overall they're 6-4. And right now, the big question is, DeAndre Levy hasn't practiced in 2 weeks. We're not going into it fully staffed. And without
what happened to that guy too? How did he get hurt? Nobody knows.
Silence.
Nobody knows. It's like that Kyle Van Noy injury. Nobody knows what hurt. Nobody knows what hurt him. Nobody. But he was back out on the field 2 days later.
Well, the good thing is
nobody knows what's going on with DeAndre Levy. But I'm guessing he's probably going to start.
While we talk about the Lions a little bit, maybe you can check the injury report. It's Wednesday afternoon as we record this. By now, some injury reports have to come out. So there's going to be some information for fantasy and things like that. By now, I do believe at least the probables and the question marks and the questionables and doubtful for the games usually come out at this time. But yeah, if DeAndre Levy doesn't suit up and play, oh my God, look out. Because right now, when you look at the 9 new pieces for San Diego on that offense, oh my God, look at the names. Wide receiving core of Jacoby Jones, Malcolm Floyd, Keenan Allen, and you got Danny Woodhead, Oliver, and Donald Brown as running back core, and you got Phillip Rivers. Oh my God, that offense looks good. They look solid. And it's going to be interesting to see how they collectively put that together in terms of the offensive line, because like the Lions, San Diego's biggest question mark on offense is that offensive line. And one of the keys to the game is going to be whose offensive line plays better. The question marks I have is, oh my God, who's going to play better? Phillip Rivers or Matthew Stafford? And which offensive line is going to play better? And when you look at it, Stafford has to play well. The Lions offensive line, I know that it's a group that is not as highly touted as before, but they're getting better. If they can get Amir Abdullah and Joique Bell some consistent holes and they can do some damage, then, they have a chance. But San Diego's secondary ain't bad. They're no joke. They got guys that have names and have made key plays. So the Lions going into the game, if they're not firing on all cylinders, look out. It may be a challenge. But the one thing, though, I like to see when you look at matchups, the Lions have an edge. And they have an edge at the front seven on the defense.
I was going to say, the one thing that the Chargers bring to the table is they have a very potent offense. You said it yourself. They got a guy like Melvin Gordon running the ball. They got a guy like Danny Woodhead who's catching balls out of the backfield, Malcolm Floyd, Keenan Allen, and Phillip Rivers. For as much as he underwhelms and sometimes lets you down in the playoffs, the guy is a great regular season quarterback and always puts up good numbers during the regular season. So that's something to be nervous about. But the Lions have the edge because they've got a much better defense. Having a guy like Haloti Ngata, because he's going to start, he's going to sit there, he's going to clog up the middle, so Melvin Gordon's going to have a hard time there. I like what Darius Slay has brought to this team on the edge there. I like the linebacking core. I think the defense for the Lions makes this a much more difficult game for the Chargers. And the defense for the Chargers, if you ask me, is just a bunch of question marks. I mean, last year, a guy like Eric Weddle, who's their safety, led them in tackles. So you know what that means when your safety's making all your tackles for you? That means people are getting to that second and third line or that second or third level of your defense and are just picking up yards and just running all over you. So I think it's a little bit different. I think the offense has the edge in this game over the Chargers' defense because I think that defense is suspect.
When you look at it, there's a key absence for San Diego that's going to make it a little bit easier because it allows the Lions to kind of cover up a weakness. Antonio Gates, you thought that his resurgence last year was all natural. Well, it wasn't. Dude was injecting or doing some things that potentially, allegedly, were not appropriate. And he's suspended for the first 4 games. So woohoo, because the Lions covering tight ends last year was horrific. It was terrible. And you saw it in the Jacksonville game where they were like, can you kind of cover the tight end? And you've seen in the preseason a little bit, tight ends were kind of able to kind of do their thing.
Like when Mercedes Lewis is just eating you alive, it's a bad day.
Yeah, so now Antonio Gates is gone for the first 4 games. So that kind of favors the Lions a little bit in terms of not having to bear down one of the great Hall of Fame tight ends out there. So I'm happy to hear that. Now, yeah, you gotta see. Now, how does the Lions wide receiving core, how does this offense look? I'm so excited. Can they potentially go into San Diego, ramp up, and just handle their business? I would think that the Lions should pass first to set up the run because consistently they haven't been able to have that solid run game. So a team like that, a team that doesn't get on average 5 yards a carry, shouldn't kind of establish that. But I kind of feel like the Lions this year want to kind of say, yeah, we're the Lions. We're going to buck the system. We got Laken Tomlinson. We got an offensive line. They're going to try to run it to kind of show off Abdullah, Bell, and see what they can do. But I don't think that that's maybe the right way to handle it.
Usually I don't agree with you on anything, but I think you're absolutely right in this case. They have to come out and they have to pass the ball. I say run 3 wide sets, throw the ball downfield your first 2 plays from scrimmage, and sit there and really get the Chargers back on their heels. Like I said, you got to take advantage of that secondary. You said that secondary is good. I think it's just question marks galore. I think their whole entire defense is question marks. So I think you throw the ball and then you sit there and you run the ball. Throw it, then run it. Throw it, then run it. And I think they'll have a lot of success doing that. The way that this team has been constructed going from the preseason into now the regular season, they want to be a more run-heavy offense. But you know what? You've got a lot of talent on the outside with Golden Tate, Calvin Johnson, and if Eric Ebron is what he's supposed to be, you got him as well. And you've got a guy who people are saying he's going to take that next step. Maybe not become an elite quarterback, but he might be that tier down with Matt Stafford. So you see them stretch the field a little bit. You've seen it in the preseason where Golden Tate caught that 60-yard pass. I think you're going to see a couple of those. I think the very first play from scrimmage is that. I think you get both Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate just sitting there just running go routes, and whoever gets open is going to get the ball.
The question that I asked on Twitter, and one that's going to kind of dictate a little bit the success of this game, is who's going to play better in your mind? Matt Stafford, Phillip Rivers. Both guys are kind of now entrenched in their systems. They've been there a while. And Matthew Stafford is a guy that we're all looking to take the next step. Phillip Rivers is a guy that really is disrespected quite a bit because he hasn't had significant playoff wins, and he's a guy that's a big trash talker. But kind of the key matchup is Stafford versus Rivers. You think Stafford can outplay Rivers this game?
Purely based on what San Diego's defense bringing to the table, yes. San Diego's defense doesn't force you to turn the ball over, and they don't sit there. They don't create interceptions. They don't create fumbles. All right. So I think based purely on that, what Matt Stafford is going up against, as opposed to what Phillip Rivers is going up against, I think yes, hands down. Do you realize last year as a team, San Diego only had 7 interceptions? We had a guy in our secondary who had more than that by himself. So that being said, I think Stafford has the easiest road to toe. And I think because of that, I think don't be surprised if you see maybe a 3-touchdown game from Matt Stafford.
Oh, a nice performance for Stafford.
So
Hey,
I think Stafford will. And you know what? Phillip Rivers is always good for an INT. Always good. He'll usually throw you 2 touchdowns. He'll put up 300 yards, and he'll throw you an INT or 2. And then every year he has one game where he throws 0 touchdowns, which is going to be great for my fantasy team this year.
We believed thoroughly in the Doc and Jock curse, knowing that if we predict the Lions to win, they're going to go out there and fall flat on their face.
They will lose.
But no, I'm going to give my honest opinion. No reverse curse type situations going on. I'm not going to falsely tell the score.
Wait.
I want the Lions to win.
I don't want your score yet. I want to save your score for the picks.
Okay.
We've got to work on this because you do this every year, and I always got to pull you back. All right.
That's right. I forget.
Before we get into the picks and before I get your score for the game, all right, we've already done a good job breaking down Lions at San Diego. I want to know, as this roster is currently constructed, you got a chance to now peruse the 53-man roster. You seen what they did from the draft to here, because after the draft you had them 8-8.
Mm-hmm.
I had them 7-9. All right, so now you see what this team looks like in totality after a couple preseason games. You've seen what they did with the draft. Where are you at now?
Where am I at now with
the roster or
okay.
with the team? How do you think they're going to finish the year?
the situation set? I'm pretty happy with the way the roster is. I'm pretty happy with how the offense looks. I think the secondary is going to try to step up, and the defensive line is going to be a strength for this team. So I'm still sticking with 8-8. Potentially, if they get off to a good start, they can finish 9-7. I still don't think that they're at the level of Green Bay. So even with the moves, I'm still sticking with my guns. 8-8, 9-7, and I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But they're going to be a better team, but the record's not going to indicate it. They're going to be a better team. It's just the league around them is going to limit them, and the schedule is just brutal the way it's set up with a lot of games in the middle and a lot of road games early and late. So that's my thinking.
They're going to be an 8-8 team with the possibility of high end being a 10-6 team. Week 16 and 17 are toss-ups for me. You're playing San Francisco, who we have no idea what they're going to be. They have a new coach. That team is kind of in flux right now and is in transition. And then you've got to go to Chicago and you got to play the Bears in, I believe it's early January. So it's going to be ice cold. Lions don't usually do well in snowy conditions. And it's Chicago. It's Jay Cutler. What is his insulin pump going to allow him to do that day? Nobody really knows. 8-8, maybe 10-6. I'm switching, man. I'm switching. I've seen some of those preseason games and that roster that I sat there and I condemned before the season, right after the draft. It's kind of winning me over. So
okay,
I'm uncomfortable and uneasy here with it.
We asked for phone calls on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, and now we've got one. Let's see who dialed us up and wants to talk Detroit Lions. Ryan in Minnesota.
Hello.
Hello, thank you. Is this our favorite fan on Twitter at Ultimate Lions?
This is, you got it right.
Hey, happy birthday, bro.
Happy 21st birthday.
Hey, thank you.
What do you think?
I've been all celebrating already, so.
Oh, you
my man.
Are you a little bit on the inebriated side?
This will definitely ease this conversation that we have going here.
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
Ultimate Lions bombed up calling about the Lions. What do you think? What do you think about the Lions playing the Chargers?
I have a little bit of mixed thoughts here. It's definitely going to show a test to what the defense is going to hold. I think that Rivers is a solid quarterback, and he has one of the best rookies in the draft, and Melvin Gordon coming in, and he's going to be a big presence in the game, I believe. So I drafted him in a couple fantasy leagues, so I like Melvin Gordon, but I have to take the Lions. I have to take them. I think that this is a year that Stafford is really going to show what everybody's been waiting to see, and I think that we have enough depth, not talent. I mean, we lost Sue on that defense line, but I think the depth is what's going to carry us to hopefully the victory on Sunday. So
all right, so
I think that Stafford will outplay Rivers. I think Stafford will show a a lot of people that this is a different year for him because it's pretty much a make or break with him on my side.
You just turned 21 years old. What do you have as your first cocktail legally?
First I enjoyed a nice Northeast, and then the bartender came up, found out that I was 21, or that was my birthday today, and he got me my first shot. So, well, my first legal shot, I should say. But
What was your first shot?
Cherry bomb.
All right, there you go.
He said it's not his favorite, but it tastes good. So it tasted delicious.
Nice.
But,
So what are you going to do to watch the games? Where are you going to be tuning in? You got the DirecTV package, or you go out to the bars?
I had it last year, but this year I am going to go to local, well, not local, about 40 minutes away to a bar called Ultimate Sports Bar in St. Cloud, and I'm going to watch the game there, and hopefully, I mean, not often, but sometimes the Lions fans pop in there, so if not, I will be there enjoying beverages alone and watching my Lions beat up on the Chargers, so.
Well, here's the deal. You're never alone if you're a Lions fan and you follow the Detroit podcast on Twitter, because we're right there with you. We're watching it along. We're agonizing with you. You message us, we message you back, so we're right there with you watching.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
At Ultimate Lions on Twitter. You love us on Periscope. Thank you so much. Have a great birthday. Bottoms up. Take a shot for us and tweet us.
Awesome. Will do. Thanks, guys.
Take it easy, Ryan.
Celebrating your birthday, listening to the podcast, calling us up. Love it. Absolutely great stuff. All right, so it's that time. We both are a little bit on the fence. I know that I think it's going to be 8-8, 9-7 potentially. You're kind of waiting and seeing, and you're allowed to do that. Maybe leaning towards 8 to 10 wins. Mm-hmm. It's well within reason because, like I said, injuries happen and the season's going to evolve. But right now, as we speak, I'm still thinking 8-8. I want to thank Ryan from Minnesota for dialing us up. All right, so now last year, let me ask you this.
What's up?
I have the Spartan stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hat and a shirt for you to wear.
Okay.
Would you be okay to wear it during the Michigan State week and Periscope it and all that good stuff?
Oh, boy.
Because we have to pick a time for you to cash in. I was supposed to cash in at the fantasy draft, but you had it so early, and I'm a busy guy. Yeah. So I can cash in anytime. I mean, I'll let you call it, but I would like to have the full effect. So the week of Michigan State, it's going to be a very passionate situation. So for the full effect, for me to celebrate my win, I think it's a fair time for you to don the green and white that week.
Man, I got plans on where I'm watching that game, and I'm watching it with a whole bunch of
No, I'm talking about on the podcast when you come in for that hour and a half here
for the podcast, yeah. or the day of the game.
No, if you can do it here on the podcast.
Oh yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, that's
okay.
fine. That's fine.
I'm not gonna have you. No,
oh boy,
I wasn't gonna set you up.
I might get beat up. Is what I was getting at.
No. I meant the podcast recording of Michigan State week.
Yes, we can Periscope the entire thing. I'll wear.
Green,
if you want, I'll wear green
foam hats.
Yeah,
gear. Okay, sounds
I'll
good.
wear green underwear, and it'll just be me, green underwear, t-shirt, and hats.
Perfect.
It's good.
So now we've decided. We've done for the last 2 years NFL Pick'em Challenge. We both won one. Do you want to continue to do the Pick'em Challenge, or do you want to wait a week and come up with a creative NFL or fantasy type challenge that we can sink our teeth into?
I want to keep doing the Pick'em Challenge because I like the Pick'em Challenge.
Okay.
We can do fantasy stuff on the side. That's always good. I'm always about that. But I want to do the Pick'em Challenge. I know that we both have struggled to come up with what we will bet this year. So I'm not sure if you've come up with anything. I know I haven't. Do you maybe want to put something out there on Twitter and let people kind of tweet us what we should maybe do?
What we've done is the first bet was a dinner bet, very common. The second bet was a humiliation bet, very common. Do you want to potentially just, buy a trophy and maybe have a little bit of some like name recognition or a championship, and we pass it back and forth like, how Michigan plays Minnesota for the little brown jug or whatever it is. And we just have a little trophy that signifies that for the year we were awesome in picking.
We could do that.
Okay, so definitely.
There's like a trophy joint like right down the street from your place too. So.
Oh, okay, perfect. Then we'll do that. We'll just get a little trophy, and the person can take a nice. Dude, I saw Vinny Stubbs with a nice fantasy trophy. I was like, dang, Vinny, look at his Twitter page at Vinny Stubbs. He had a nice little trophy, and I don't know if it was from last year or I was like, oh, nice. And I haven't seen Dennis Farrell with all his rings and belts, and I'm like, okay, we got to do that.
He's extra bougie.
It'll be nice just to have something planted here and the podcast with my name on it year after year as I continue to dominate you in the picks.
That's right.
All right.
I don't know about all that, but whatever.
All right. So let's get into these NFL picks. Here's what we do. We pick 3 games for 1 point each against the spread, and then we are getting the bonus 2 points for picking the Lions game. So this is what we call the NFL Pick'em Challenge. The first challenge we did, you picked first, and last year I picked first. So you have the honors in the 2015 season pick them first. Go ahead. Who you got?
What's really weird is after I sat there and I put everything together, I'm taking all road teams this week. Yeah, so I don't know how well this is going to work out for me, but we'll see. So in my very first game, I've got the Carolina Panthers -3 at Jacksonville. I think the Jags will be better this year, but I like the Panthers defense much more, and I think a turnover or two results in a Carolina touchdown, and that's what the difference is.
Okay, my first pick, I like the New Orleans-Arizona game. New Orleans is getting 2.5 points. I'm not sure how Arizona is going to rebound after quite an interesting season last year, having the chance and the potential to have success and then have all their quarterbacks go down, multiple quarterbacks with injuries. So I'm taking with my first pick, New Orleans plus 2.5 on the road.
That's funny because that's my very next pick. I've got New Orleans plus 2.5 at Arizona. I don't like the Cardinals' offensive line. I think it's shaky. I think it's awful. I think the Saints want to come out and show that they're more than a Jimmy Graham touchdown on offense. So I look for the Saints to sit there and try to dial up the score. And I think that Saints defense, even though it's not very good, it gets to Carson Palmer and it causes havoc.
Okay, my second pick. It's tough to look at teams that have been so bad for so long and say they're going to make a turnaround. Oakland's just a dumpster fire. They struggle every year. I know they're trying to build. They keep shuffling in new coaches and bringing in talent, and it never works out. So I like Cincinnati on the road. I think Andy Dalton is a guy that's consistent in the regular season. He needs to find it in the postseason in order to get the naysayers off his back. But I'm taking Cincinnati -3.5 versus Oakland.
All right, for my next game, I've got the Philadelphia Eagles -3 going into Atlanta. Falcons defense is rebuilding. It's rebuild in progress. Chip Kelly runs that team through his fast-paced offense. I expect the Falcons D to get gassed late in the fourth. I think Sam Bradford throws a touchdown to put the Eagles, who are given 3, the W.
Okay, now Jacksonville had a decent preseason, but Carolina's got a ton of weapons. They got Cam Newton. I know their defense took a little bit of a step back last year, but I like them on the road -3 versus Jacksonville. I think they're going to go in there and just put on a show. Cam Newton is going to have a great fantasy day. So for my third pick, I'm taking Carolina -3 versus Jacksonville.
All right, this is the crunch time right here. This is one that everybody's been waiting for.
Dun, dun, dun. The Lions.
They want to know what Doc and Jock think about the Detroit Lions visiting the San Diego Superchargers. Now, for me, maybe, just maybe, it's the new season butter smell. Or maybe it's that refreshing Kool-Aid taste after that long hibernation break that's kept me away from football for so very long. But I got the Lions +3 over the Chargers in San Diego. Forward down the field.
Is it tough for me to pick with the Lions? I know it's tough for Doc and Jock because every time we think, and our rule of thumb has been throughout the course of this podcast, every time the Lions taste a little bit of success, 1 step forward, 4 steps back. Not anymore. Jim Caldwell is a guy that's a stabilizing force. He's a guy that is going to have this team prepared. And yes, it's going to be a challenge if DeAndre Levy does not find the field. The offense looks to have massive potential to do some damage, to be maybe a top 15 or maybe even a top 10 offense. And it's tough to say because, like I said, the Lions offense has been inconsistent and really marked by a lack of a running game. But now they got Amir Abdullah. I think he brings a new life. Golden Tate is just a superstar in the making. A guy who was also disrespected by the ESPN ratings crew and not listed in the top 100. Him and Stafford might take serious offense to that. So I'm going with Matthew Stafford and the Lions, 28, San Diego 17.
All right, so let's just recap. Jock's got Carolina -3, New Orleans +2.5, Philadelphia -3, and the Lions +3. Doc's got New Orleans +2.5, Cincinnati -3.5, Carolina -3, and the Lions +3.
Weigh in. I do think that I did better than you in terms of picks. I should end up being a 5 to 2 or 3 ahead this week because I'm going 100%, baby. Because I'm the best I'm the best prognosticator around. I'm the best podcasting prognosticator around town, baby, and you know this. So I'm going to be out to a 5-3 lead because I'm going to be perfect.
I like how you just toot your own horn.
You got to. You told me to. So, man, what a great podcast. I can't believe it. We just roll on the mics, 80 minutes, just talking sports. We got to do this more often. Yeah. I love it. It's football time, baby.
Football.
We did good. So now.
I love this. I love this time of year.
It's the best time of year. I'm going to try to definitely look for me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get myself on ESPN.
I'll be looking for you.
I'm going to put it. You know what I'm going to do? I think it sounds good. It just came in my head.
What's that?
Big sign, Detroit, Block S Sports, nice green and white Block S. Sports Podcast sign, just right there in the front row.
With
And
no
see-
shirt on?
No shirt on with the block S? That'll get some attention.
Do it.
Listen,
Do it, bro.
We got sponsors. Can't
Do it,
that to
bro.
spon-
You can
maybe,
do it. You
Maybe
can
I'll do
do
it.
it.
Maybe I'll do it.
You could do. Your face is never seen on anything, so nobody knows.
And maybe knows.
You could just be a crazed fan.
Okay. Great podcast. Thank you to Adam Biggers for taking the time to talk Michigan football with us. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Look for and pay attention to ESPN Game Day, Saturday morning, front row. You might see something you've never seen before.
Go Lions. Go Blue.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand, they talk to me. They talk to me, they tell me things that I will do, they show me things